If you've been listening to the podcast for a while and thought, man, I would love to grab a drink and pick the brain of some of these guests I've been listening to, or maybe me as well, here's your shot. I'm putting on an event this April called Elevate. This is the third year doing this, and we're going to be in Phoenix, Arizona, where we're going to have the top agency owners really come together, share what's working, get real on what's not, and really help each other scale faster. So if you're ready to finally get out of the weeds and grow your agency the right way, I want you to join me and 50 other amazing 7 and 8 figure agencies at Elevate. You'll connect with people who've been there, leave with a real growth plan, and actually enjoy the process. Now, we only have a few tickets left, so make sure you go over to elevatemyagency.com to lock in your spot now. Go to elevatemyagency.com now. You're listening to the Smart Agency Masterclass with me, Jason Swank, and we're bringing you this episode courtesy of our friends at Wix Studio. Let's go ahead and get into the show. All right. Welcome to the show. How are you doing?
I'm doing great, Jason. How are you doing?
Good. Tell us who you are, what you do.
So I'm the co-founder. We've been running a life cycle full service digital agency based out of India. Been running that since 2012. And prior to that, I was in Australia for 10 years, working in an agency side world as well. So yeah, been on both sides, running an agency myself. And after moving to India, running an agency where we help and support a lot of other global agencies when it comes to their marketing operations needs.
Awesome. Well, can you tell us maybe a little bit about the journey of building an 8-figure agency and was there any significant milestones or hiccups that you faced along the way?
Well, yeah, no. So definitely the journey has been very interesting, roller coaster. Not every day, not every year is the same. We have gone through a lot, especially the COVID times when there was a massive disruption in our revenue streams.
Mhm.
So that event is always very memorable, very close to my heart, brought me a lot of learnings and a lot of lessons. So before COVID, our revenue was not very heavy on retainers. We have been always focusing on overall revenue and top line, not looking into the retainer arrangements, to be very specific. And then, during COVID, 40% of the revenue dip we faced. And then to overcome that was challenging. It took us at least a couple of quarters to overcome that. And that was a aha moment that how important it is, consistent retainer arrangements in an agency setup at a scale where you have a large team to support. And if you don't have those retainers in play, any such instances can destroy things massively. Luckily, we have always been profitable, always focusing on profit since day one. And that brings us to a really good cash flow that has helped us to survive during COVID. But otherwise, that was been a tough.
I mean, I even saw agencies really kind of struggle during COVID, even that had retainers, because depending on who they were going after, like, we have no money, like, we can't pay you.
Yeah. No, yeah. But for us, I think because we have been always diversified across different geography, different globe, different industry, even if any one particular geography face any challenges, like let's say in last couple of years, US economy has been a little uncertain, but then because clients are diversified across different geography, at times you get a lesser impact of one particular industry or one particular geography having that disruption.
Yeah. Talk about always being profitable. And that's something, a lot of agencies struggle with, is just really figuring out balancing growth and kind of profitability. Can you talk about or dive into kind of your thought process around, maybe any systems that you've put in place to kind of achieve that balance?
Yeah, I think it's a fundamental thing. Me and my business partner agreed when we started the business that we follow a profit first principle. So we want to make sure that we don't always successfully achieve it, but we always keep it that as a very focused priority to ensure that profit is comes by design. It's not like an after effect in terms of what you achieve towards the end of the year. Always focus on services which are relatively less competitive and keep evolving your service offering as the market or your ocean becomes red. So keep evolving your services to constantly discover less reddish, if not pure blue oceans, and always focus on customers which are the ideal customer for you. And don't shy away from saying no to some customers if they turns out to be really daunting on your bottom line, because there are customers who possibly are not the right fit for you as an agency. Maybe their expectations are not getting aligned. The effort you put in behind them doesn't sync up. So I think you just stay busy with your numbers, but it ultimately doesn't yield any required profit. And profit is important for growth, for future expansion, for stability, for innovation, for experimentation. When I mention always trying to carve our path into new services, right? That also requires a lot of experiments and trial. So having that cash flow positive, profitable agency business also enable us to constantly run different pivots if and when we are ready to try, test, or expand into new domains or new services.
Yeah. So, how have you kind of refined your guys' services and your processes for what we're talking about around profitability?
So I think it's a lot to do with your operational excellence, the processes you define. Like we are 700 people agency, and like most other agencies, we've been set up into pod structure. So we have different service arms, and then we have a customer success team on the top. Like most agencies have that sort of similar setup. But how do we constantly make sure that our team is following consistent processes and define protocols that avoid a lot of mistakes, reputations, and that avoids a lot of friction after delivery? So when those processes are defined, everyone is trained to follow those processes. Your probability to achieve the goals you commit to your customers, your probability to achieve the desired results, those probabilities goes high, which means your rework, your reputation of your work goes low. Ultimately, it's a manpower, human resource driven work as an agency. And I think we get success with a lot of structure and processes in play.
So, how do you ensure, being one of the co-founders, that all 700 people are in sync and really kind of following this process? Because, some people listening, they may have 20 people or they may have 10 people or 50 people. And they're like, man, I couldn't imagine 700. So, there's so many different layers that go into that. How do you guys ensure that you're putting out the best work?
We have gone through this challenge when we started growing post COVID, right? Before COVID, we were around 300 people team. And from 2020 to 2023, we have become 600, almost doubled in 2.5, 3 years. We have gone through our lows as well, where all our processes have started breaking down. The alignment was an issue. Team was also moved into remote during that time due to COVID and post-COVID aspects. So later on, we started following a framework called Scaling Up. It's a very popular framework by Vern Harnish, and it's mostly very apt for businesses who are ready to scale in a more structured way. So that framework has helped us big time because that framework is basically fundamentally based on four aspects: your people, your strategy, your execution, and your cash. The cash aspects we cover that how critical it is from the profitability perspective. Your strategy aspects is about how you're defining your focus, how you're defining your like 5-year vision statements and your yearly plans, and how you're breaking down your yearly plans into your quarterly milestones and priorities, and how every department heads are aligning, contributing to that. And then it goes all the way to the IC level and individual contributor in the team, because that person working remotely somewhere in India exactly knows that what they are working upon, how their efforts are cascaded down to their departmental success, and how their departmental goals and priorities are contributing to the overall company success. So I think to answer your question, it's heavy reliance on bringing that alignment, because when people see that alignment, what they are contributing, how it is impacting, it brings that onus on them to ensure that whatever processes we are defining, whatever practices we are talking about, how important they are to be followed. And with least monitoring, they take ownership and accountability to follow those things because they know what's the why behind that, what's the purpose behind that.
What are you excited about with, the future of your agency and the kind of where everything is actually going with AI and all this cool new technology?
To be honest, it's a big shift, big transition we all are going through. And anyway, for anyone, when things are uncertain, when you can't see what's exactly ahead of you, things becomes a little difficult. Personally, I'm super passionate and excited about what is ahead of us. I see especially the digital marketing technology domain is evolving so fast with huge adoption of different tools, technology, different product. And the biggest challenge for most brand is how they're going to set up the entire tech orchestration to make their marketing very effective and impactful. And that entire landscape is changing 360-degree. And it creates a lot of opportunity for any players, small or big, to kind of go in and master that piece, because it doesn't matter how much we have learned in last 10 years building this agency of 700 people. I think someone else has an equal platform today with the fast changing environment outside, because now it's not like we are ahead of anyone. It's like everyone is at the par. Changes are coming for everyone. On other side, the smaller agencies has an edge to adopt that change faster compared to a larger agencies like us, where we need to move the Titanic and it's going to take a while for us to shift. But from a futuristic perspective, the way the overall marketing technology landscape is changing and it's going more and more heavy reliance towards different tools, technology, and platform, I see that it's going to be a very interesting space.
Look, your agency adapts for every client, right? Your builder should do the same. That's why Wix Studio is built for the way you actually create. AI-powered site mapping lets you get straight down to the design. Whether you shape things in Figma or start in Studio, your vision's coming to life quicker with no-code animations and built-in responsiveness. And for client growth that actually scale, you've got extendable business solutions and a dynamic CMS. Scale your agency at wixstudio.com.
Do you feel that now that you guys have 700 people, do you still operate in a place where you can make quick decisions and roll out things quickly? Or is it kind of the moving the Titanic?
So I think when it comes to strategic moves, it's still easy to align the top leadership. But when it comes to changing the behavior of the larger team, that becomes difficult. And that's where, again, that scaling up some sort of a framework. I'm not saying scaling up is the only framework, but like some sort of framework to align people. Still, it's a lot of effort, but I think we have learned one thing, that what has brought us here is not going to take us forward. And possibly the team which has brought us here, not necessarily the same team is going to take us forward. So I think that acceptance is there now. So we're just evolving with the right people who are continuously contributing to our growth ahead. And if not, we are also open to bring new people in, make changes in our structure and team based on who's very adaptable and agile, which is the today's ask. So
Was that hard for you to get to this point? Because what got you to 10 people is not what got you to this point. And a lot of times in the very beginning, we're like, oh man, they trusted me in the very beginning and I need to take them the whole way. But I always kind of looked at, or no, I lied to you. I haven't always looked at that way. It was always hard, but I've changed my mind over the past decade where I look at it as a sports team or like an all-star team of going, hey, if I want to win this game, I need to have the best players on the field. And if there's one weak person, they're just going to keep scoring on us and they're going to keep going to that weak person. So have you gone through that too?
very similar, very similar. Netflix, No Rules Rules. So yeah, I got inspired by that book. That's very similar, as you mentioned, that my belief have evolved in last 4 years, especially since 2022 onwards, in last 3 years to be precise, where we started getting a lot of roadblocks to make a transition, make a shift at the pace the environment is changing. How can we adopt at the same pace? And when we go through those journeys, we realize, so yeah, I think it's a tough learning, but at the same time, I think people and empathetic aspect is still intact. We always tend to make sure that we work on giving enough time, enough feedback, and if we reach to a point of possibly parting ways with any of our team members who has contributed over years, at least making sure that they have enough time to settle down in their new roles, or they have enough time till they figure out a new opportunity. I think that's the best we can do. But like you mentioned, that if it's going to be like you need an A-player game, and that's the game we need to play.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter you are a 5 people agency or 500 people agency.
And when you guys started, did you ever envision having 700 people and being this big?
No. I think it has been an amazing journey. Now, we didn't thought of that. We didn't build for scale. It was just out of sheer passion of serving and supporting brands, because I was in Australia for 10 years, worked on an agency side. I myself struggled to grow that agency because of not getting the required skilled people at a scale or at a time when we needed them. And that's where I happened to start outsourcing myself. And from there, my thoughts about outsourcing, offshoring, nearshoring has evolved. And then one fine day, as one of the founding team member of an agency, I've told my owner of the agency, my mentor, saying, "Oh, I want to go back to India and I want to start my own agency." And he's like, "What are you gonna do?" And I said, "Like, I'm thinking about it." And he said, "Okay, why don't you just go and set up our offshore center, right? Because we need that support. We need the expertise, we need the scale, and we need that operational excellence." And that's where I started my journey. And then from there, I started supporting more agencies, other agencies, and then we expanded from Australia to other geography. And that's where we are here today with 700 people, operations across different geography. So
Wow.
yeah, when I started, it was just supporting my own agency
Yeah.
with a small team.
Yeah, because I know a lot of people are listening. They'd be like 700. I look at it going like even the other companies that I'm spinning up and investing in and starting, I'm like I would never want 700 people. I never would want over 100 people anymore, even though that's what the old agency was. But where do you find that it's the tipping point where the agency actually gets a little bit easier with the number of people that you have? I found that around the 50 mark where it's like, oh, well, I don't have to do a lot. Like I'm kind of just twiddling my thumbs a little bit.
To my experience, it has a lot to do with how you are structured,
Mm-hmm.
as how you're structured as your leadership team. The way we are structured is we structured as different business units for different services.
Mm-hmm.
And then each services has their business heads. And because they have a P&L level responsibility to run and manage and operate their P&L, so then from that lens, if you look at, so each services or each P&L is not more than around 100, 120, maximum 150 people. All of a sudden, that calculation from 700 to 150, now it start making a little bit more sense and it start looking less scary. So I think the way we are structured, that has a lot to do with the scale we are able to achieve and at a scale we are able to efficiently operate.
Yeah, because
So
I know.
you're absolutely right. Like that 50, 60, sometimes up to 100 mark is like more acceptable, more digestible in order to make sure that your quality, your retention, your customer experience, everything stays intact and under control.
Yeah. Yeah, it's always kind of like a whack-a-mole too. But I just know there's people listening be like, I stress over 20 people. I couldn't imagine stressing over 700. But what I always would tell them too is, look, you're not stressing over 700. You're stressing over your direct reports, your leadership team. And then they're stressed about the team under them and so on and so on, right? You have multiple layers. You're not having 700 direct reports.
Now, so it's a one pizza rule. So we try to make sure that everyone, like I try to make sure my reporting, direct reportees should be 7 or 8. There are times in this journey that my reporting exceeds up to 10.
That's a lot.
Yeah. So, but there are times like you have people leaving, people shuffling, maybe some new initiatives we are taking. We are launching new services. Separate P&L has been started for new vertical, new service. So there are times in a journey of last 12 years that I'm up to 10. But usually I try to keep it around 7 or 8. And the same rule applies across down with the leadership team as well.
Yeah, because I look at it too as, look, my job is to coach them, not to manage them. Because I was always a crappy manager. I'd be like, look, I don't want to manage you. You need to manage yourself. I'm just going to point you in the right direction and then be your coach. Because immediately if someone comes to you and be like, look, I'm your manager, I'll be doing your performance reviews. Like you're automatically like, this person's not on my side. This person beat me up versus like, hey, I'm your coach and I want to get you to a point, kind of like how your mentor was like, yeah, dude, go back to India. We'll be your first client, that kind of stuff. And, I think that's the mentality rather than looking at like, you're reporting to me.
Yeah. Oh, so true, so true. Like things which are really working for us is not like so much important is your daily, weekly conversation. And those conversation, as you correctly mentioned, more from a coaching perspective rather than arranging formal performance review meetings. Because the amount of alignment you can bring with your leaders for them to think, behave, and act like yourself is going to be so much effective when you have your regular feedback, real-time, instance-based conversation about possibly what they have done, which you were expecting something different, exchanging ideas, why you have thought that way, why you action that way, rather than arranging formal performance review meetings. Because They are just ticking the boxes. They doesn't solve the actual purpose of coaching and mentoring in a right way.
Well, I do appreciate you taking the time and coming on the podcast and sharing with us, what it's like to get to 700 employees. And I take that with I even feel it in my chest when I say that. But like we said, you're not managing 700. You're steering the ship, and then you're supporting your leadership team and so on in order for them to get to the place where they need to go. So I want to thank you very much for coming on the show, and everybody listening. If you enjoy this episode, make sure you share it out. And if you ever need any help, reach out to us, and we'll see if we can connect you with the right agency owners. And until next time, have a swank day.